Credit cards are either a scam or free money. That is how most people talk about them, and both sides are wrong in a way that can cost you a lot of money. Used the wrong way, credit cards can bury you in interest, fees, and stress. But used the right way, they can help you build credit, earn easy rewards on money you were already going to spend, and make your future financial life a lot easier. Because your credit score is not just some random number banks care about. It can affect whether you get approved for an apartment, it can affect how expensive your car loan is, and eventually, if you want to buy a house, it can affect whether you get approved for a mortgage and how much that mortgage costs you every single month. So, in this video, I'm going to walk through the credit card ladder I would follow if I were starting from zero in 2026. Not the most complicated setup, not the open 12 cards and memorize transfer partners setup. Just the simple path, where to start, what cards make sense at each stage, and when you should not move up yet. But before we talk about any specific cards, there are two rules. Rule number 1, always pay on time. Rule number 2, always pay in full. If you only remember one thing from this video, remember that. Credit card rewards might give you 1%, 2%, 3%, maybe 5% back in certain categories. But credit card interest can be over 20%. So if you carry a balance, the rewards do not matter. The bank is winning. You are losing. The way to use credit cards correctly is simple, but not exciting. Buy things you were already going to buy. Let the card report activity, then pay the full statement balance by the due date. Not the minimum payment, not most of it, the full statement balance. If that already sounds hard, that does not mean you are bad with money. It means you should build the habit first. Use debit or use a very low limit card until paying in full becomes automatic. Now, assuming you can follow those rules, here are the stages. Stage 0 is not even your own card yet. It is becoming an authorized user on someone else's card. This is usually a parent or guardian adding you to one of their credit cards. And when it works, it can be one of the easiest ways to start building credit history early. But there is a huge warning here. Only do this if that person is responsible with credit. That means they pay on time. They do not max out the card. They have had the account open for a while, and they are not constantly carrying a huge balance. If your parent has a clean old credit card with a good payment history, adding you as an authorized user can help you start building a credit profile before you even need your own card. And they do not necessarily have to hand you the physical card. They can add you for the credit history benefit, then keep the card themselves so there is no extra spending risk. But if your parent misses payments, carries high balances, or is not careful with credit, do not do this just because someone on the internet told you authorized users are good. A bad account can hurt more than it helps. So, stage 0 is authorized user only with a responsible adult. If that is not available, skip it. You can still start from stage 1. Stage 1 is your first card in your own name. If you are a student, the easiest path is usually a student credit card. The card I would look at first is the Discover It Student Cashback. The reason I like it for beginners is simple. It has no annual fee, it is made for students, and it can earn cashback while you build credit with responsible use. Discover also has rotating 5% cashback categories that change during the year, which can be useful if you are willing to activate and pay attention to the categories. But for a beginner, I would not overthink that part. The real value is that it is a beginner-friendly card that can help you build credit history without paying an annual fee. So, on screen, I would think of it like this. Discover It Student Cashback. Best for students starting from little or no credit. Annual fee. No annual fee. Main perk. Cashback, including rotating 5% categories. Watch out for only useful if you pay in full and keep track of the categories. Now, if you are not a student or you cannot get approved for a student card, the next option is a secured credit card. A secured credit card is different because you put down a refundable deposit. For example, if you put down $200, that might become your credit limit. The deposit protects the bank, which makes it easier to get approved if you have no credit or damaged credit. But the important thing is, a secured credit card is still a real credit card. If it reports to the credit bureaus, it can help you build credit as long as you use it responsibly. For secured cards, I would keep it simple. Choose one from a large reputable bank. Look for no annual fee, a refundable deposit, reporting to the major credit bureaus, and ideally a path to graduate to a regular unsecured card later. I would not choose some random secured card with weird fees just because it says instant approval. Beginner credit is not about finding the flashiest card. It is about proving you can pay on time every month. So stage 1 is either a student card, like Discover It Student Cashback, or a secured card from a large bank if you cannot get approved yet. Stage 2 is when you have built some history and you want a simple card you can keep for a long time. This is where I like no annual fee everyday cards. These are cards that are not fancy, but they are useful. And because they have no annual fee, you can usually keep them open for years, which can help your credit history over time. The first example is the Citi Double Cash. This is one of the simplest cards because the whole idea is flat cash back. You do not have to think about which store you are in. You do not have to remember a rotating category. You just use it as a basic catch-all card. That makes it good for people who want simple cash back without turning credit cards into a hobby. The second example is the Chase Freedom Unlimited. This card is also no annual fee, but it has a few useful categories. It earns elevated rewards on dining and drugstores, rewards on Chase travel, and a base rate on other purchases. I like it because it can be a simple everyday card, but it also connects well to the Chase ecosystem later if you ever decide to get into travel points. The third example is the Capital One Saver. This one is especially interesting if a lot of your spending is on food and entertainment. For many young people, dining, groceries, streaming, and entertainment are real categories they actually spend money in. So, the saver can make more sense than a travel card if you are not traveling much yet. If I were starting from scratch, I would want one card in this stage that I could use for normal spending and keep open long term. No annual fee, easy to understand, no pressure to make the fee worth it. Stage 3 is where you start adding cards for specific categories. I call these flex cards because they can give you very high rewards in certain areas, but only if you use them correctly. The first example is the Chase Freedom Flex. This card has rotating 5% quarterly bonus categories up to a spending limit when you activate them. It also has dining, drugstore, and Chase travel categories. This can be a great card if you are willing to pay attention, but if you hate tracking categories, it can become annoying. The second example is the Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards card. The interesting part here is that you can choose a category where you earn a higher cashback rate. That can make it useful if you have one category you consistently spend in, like online shopping, gas, dining, or travel. It is not a card I would necessarily make your very first card, but it can be useful once you understand your spending. This is the stage where people start making mistakes because they chase percentages. They hear 5% back and think it must be better, but 5% back on a category you never use is worth zero. And 2% back on spending you actually do every day can add up. So stage 3 is not about collecting random cards. It is about looking at your real spending and adding a card only if it clearly fits. Stage 4 is where annual fees enter the picture, and this is where I want people to slow down, because annual fee cards can be worth it, but only if you actually use the benefits. The first card in this stage is the Chase Sapphire Preferred. This is probably one of the best known starter travel cards. It has an annual fee, but it is much lower than the ultra premium cards. The main reason people like it is that it earns Chase Ultimate Rewards points, and those points can become more valuable if you learn how to use transfer partners or book travel strategically. It can also pair nicely with Chase Freedom cards. The Capital One equivalent here is the Capital One Venture Rewards card. This is a simpler travel card because the basic idea is earning miles on purchases, then using those miles toward travel. For someone who wants travel rewards but does not want to think too hard yet, this can feel easier than a complicated point setup. The American Express equivalent is a little trickier. For many people, the Amex Gold is the practical semi-luxury Amex card because it is strong for food categories like restaurants and US supermarkets. But it has a higher annual fee than the Chase Sapphire Preferred, and a lot of the value comes from using credits. So, I would not call it a beginner card. I would call it a your spending card. Stage 4 is where the question changes. It is no longer, can I get approved? It is, does this card actually fit my life? If the answer is no, stay with no annual fee cards. That is not a failure. That is smart. Stage 5 is the luxury tier. This is where you see cards like the Chase Sapphire Reserve, the Amex Platinum, and the Capital One Venture X. These cards can be powerful. They can come with lounge access, travel credits, hotel benefits, transfer partners, travel protections, and big welcome offers. But they also come with big annual fees. And this is where a lot of people confuse valuable with good for me. A card can advertise hundreds or even thousands of dollars of value and still be a bad fit. If those benefits do not match your normal life, that value is mostly imaginary. The Chase Sapphire Reserve is the premium Chase travel card. It is built for people who travel enough to use the travel credit, lounges, travel protections, and higher travel earning categories. The Amex Platinum is more of a premium lifestyle and airport lounge card. It can be great if you use Centurion lounges, airline credits, hotel status, streaming or shopping credits, and the other benefits, but it can also turn into a coupon book if you are only keeping it because the card looks cool. The Capital One Venture X is Capital One's premium travel card. For some people, it can be easier to justify than other premium cards because the travel credit and anniversary miles can offset a lot of the annual fee if you use them correctly. But again, that only matters if you actually travel and are comfortable using the Capital One travel ecosystem. My advice for Stage 5 is simple. Do not start here. Premium cards are not trophies, they are tools, and an expensive tool is only worth it if you actually use it. So if I were starting from zero in 2026, here is the path I would follow. If I had a responsible parent with good credit, I would start as an authorized user. Then I would get a student card or starter card in my own name. Then I would add one simple, no annual fee everyday card. Then, once I understood my spending, I might add a flex card for categories, and only after that would I think about travel cards or premium cards. The mistake is trying to jump straight to the end. People see luxury cards online and think that is the goal, but the real goal is not owning a metal card. The real goal is building a clean credit history, earning rewards on spending you were already doing, and keeping your financial life simple enough that you never pay credit card interest. Because if you pay interest, the whole game flips against you. So the simple version is this: start early if you can. Use an authorized user setup only if the adult is responsible. Get a beginner card when you are ready. Pay on time and in full every month. Keep your oldest no annual fee cards open if they still make sense, and only move up the ladder when the next card actually fits your life. In a future video, I'll go deeper into which path makes more sense depending on your personality, whether you want simple cash back or whether you want to maximize points for heavily discounted travel, because those are two very different games. But if you are just getting started, do not worry about mastering everything at once. Start with the basics, build the habit, avoid interest, and let the rewards be a bonus, not the reason you overspend.